Welcome back to Cooking Kosher. Have you ever been fasting and then after the fast you're so hungry that you pig out and you feel even worse than you did before? Well, I know you have, and so have I. So today I'm going to teach you a great recipe that's really healthy, really hearty, and so easy to do. Today we're making split pea soup. This is all you'll need for this delicious recipe. It all starts with split peas. Now we have some green split peas here and some yellow split peas. You could use either one. They actually taste exactly the same. It really depends on what you want your soup to look like. If you want it to look yellow, then use the yellow split peas, but I'm not gonna. So let's use the green split peas for this recipe, and those will be absolutely amazing. Also, let's use some onion, some garlic, a big old carrot. I have a couple of vegetarian stock cubes here. This is chicken flavor, but it's completely parve. I want to make this soup parve so we could eat it with anything. A milchig pot here, some olive oil, salt and pepper, and I actually at the last minute found a nice potato in the fridge, so I figured I'd cube that up and put it in as well. So I've actually never made split pea soup before, but I decided to check some recipes online, and they all seem to suggest that you should soak your beans for at least a few hours before you make your soup. So I've had these beans soaking in this nice bowl for about 2 hours now. You could soak it up until overnight, and they really plump up. And this actually helps with two things. First of all, it removes some of the gases that might upset your stomach, and it also helps them to cook a bit faster. And you can kind of sift through them, look for any rocks or any issues with any of the beans that you may want to pull out, and then you could strain them and cook them in our soup. Okay, so I got a nice big carrot here. I peeled it, and we're just gonna cut it into small dice for our soup. Next, we're gonna dice up our onion. No tears. And last up, our potato. And we almost forgot about our garlic. Yeah, this garlic must be broken. All right, we'll cut it the regular way. Now that everything's cut up, let's bring it over to the stove and put it all together. Let me show you how quickly this comes together. Let's turn on our fire here. Let that pot heat up a little bit. Use as large a pot as you possibly can, because it's always great to have leftovers with something like this. You could put it into containers and you could reheat these on weeknights. It's really, really delicious. Once your pot gets a little warm, just add in a good amount extra virgin olive oil. First thing, onion. Now it's okay if the onion's not sizzling like crazy the way you would with a stir fry or something like this. This is going to cook for a long time. Just get it all in the pot. Wooden spoon is really, I find, the best utensil for this. Always good to clean as you go. Take your bowls, put them in the sink, rinse them out when you get a chance, because then at the end of your soup, you won't have a big pile of dishes to deal with. Another very important thing is to season as you go. So I'm going to grab some kosher salt at this point. Sprinkle it around in there, and some freshly ground black pepper. That's the sizzle we really want to hear now. Just stir it up, keep it moving. You do not want to cook these onions to mush. It's nice to get some texture in here. Once your onions have sauteed for a couple of minutes, in with the carrot. And we'll start sauteing that in with our onion. The flavors and the smells are starting to fill your kitchen. That is a sign that you've got a delicious soup on its way. Once again, a little kosher salt. This orange of the carrot is going to look amazing next to the green split peas. If you had chosen to do yellow split pea soup, the orange would kind of blend into the color and wouldn't really stick out the way it does in the green soup. So that's another one of the reasons I really love this. And my kids love carrots, so when there's a soup and they get a chunk of carrot that they'll eat, vitamins, minerals, healthy, delicious, it's great. Next we'll add in the potato. And a little kosher salt for that. Very important, you don't cook your potatoes too much before adding the water, because you want them to keep some texture to them. Scrape down the sides a little bit. Last up, we are going to add our chopped garlic. You see how it only took a couple of minutes to put all of these vegetables together and just chop them up? Actually, it took a couple of seconds, you watched earlier in this video. Just get them in. Do I care if you put the potato first and the carrot second and the onions third and the garlic fourth? It doesn't even really matter that much. Put them all in at the same time. The soup will taste great no matter what. That's why this is really not a recipe. This is more of a technique. You kind of just put it all together and just let it go. I think we've cooked this just about enough. I'm going to lower the heat just a touch, and we're going to add in our split peas. We have a huge amount of peas here. I used 2 bags. Each one was a pound. So that's actually really probably too much. So let's just eyeball it a little bit, and we'll just get in an amount that we think is a good amount, and the rest we could save for another recipe. This is split pea soup, so you want to make sure that there's plenty of these split peas in there. Perfect. Now you see that this soup has totally changed right now because the colors that we've introduced with the orange and the green and the white from the onion and the potato, the garlic. This looks so festive and so delicious. Next up, we're going to fill this up with water. Now you could do this one of many ways. You could just take it to the tap. You could put in bottled water. It's really not a big deal. You don't need to make a fuss. You could use chicken stock or vegetable stock. If you want to make this a vegetarian soup, I recommend you use just plain old water. And then just give it some nice flavor, some seasoning. Just fill that water up until the level of your veggies and maybe a couple inches above the peas. You may ask me, what if I go just 1 inch above the peas rather than 2 inches above the peas? Doesn't matter. Your soup will be a little thicker, a little thinner. Depends on how you like it. You make it the way you like it. So in this case, because I want to have lots of leftovers and because I'm going to let it cook for a while, I'm going to fill this whole pitcher in there. Let's give it a stir. You see all of our veggies are in there. Now the most important step is you need to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it to a simmer and it'll cook for a while. Now you may ask me, as you often do in the comments, how long should I cook it? I'll tell you, I don't know. You cook it until the peas are softened. Some people like their peas to have a little texture. Other people like it to be totally disintegrated. You'll see this liquid is like a clear yellowish color now, but it's going to turn into a dark green as these peas break down. And that's exactly what you want for a smooth and creamy soup. We have these Parv stock cubes. This is not a paid advertisement for any company. How many fingers can I use to cover this? Hold on. You see it says OU Parv? Don't look. Okay, these are chicken flavor, but you could use any flavor you want. And I'm just going to put 2 of them in, and they'll just break down in the soup, and they'll give it some really great flavor. Last ingredient for a nice, rich flavor, we're just going to add a couple of bay leaves. Make sure you keep track of how many you added. All right, 1 big one, 2 bay leaves. That means at the end of the soup, you're going to take 2 out because those are very hard and you don't want to choke on them. Okay, now at this point, we've added everything into our pot. We have our stock cubes right there. We have our split peas, our carrots, our potatoes, our onions, our garlic. We added in a couple of bay leaves, some salt and pepper. We'll season to taste a little bit later as well as we taste it. But right now, it just needs to come to a boil. So let's leave it in there, cover it with a lid, and we'll check back in a little bit. We have reached a rolling boil. You do not want to cook your soup at this kind of a roll. So let's lower that down to a simmer. Yes, much more like it. Give it a good stir. You could decide to cook it covered or uncovered at this point. You're just going to let it go for a little bit. If you look, those split peas are still very whole. Like I said, some people like their soup with chunks of peas in there, and others like a very smooth and creamy soup. You decide. It's your soup. I'm going to cook this covered for a little bit on this low simmer. So we've been at a simmer now for about 10 or 15 minutes. Whoa, smell that. That smells amazing. You see our peas are starting to break down a little bit now, and you see that our liquid is turning much more green. We're not there yet, but we're getting close. So I'm still going to let this go with a lid. If yours is getting a little liquidy, you could take the lid off so it evaporates more. But I'm just going to keep that lid, try and get it nice and thick, and we'll check back in another 10 minutes or so. Yum. It's been another 10 or 15 minutes. Time to check on our soup. Ah, yes. Man, it smells so good, and it is really darkening up. Now you could see the peas are really breaking up. It is really thickening up. You could decide that this is done enough for you, or you can continue cooking it and let it get even creamier and let those peas break down even more than they already have. I'm going to go with option 2. Takes a little more time. Got to have some patience, but let it go a little bit and we'll check back in another 10 or 15 minutes. Oh yes. Every time I open that pot, that smell is unbelievable. Important tip I just wanted to mention, you should really scrape the bottom of your pan a little bit so those peas don't stick. You could see our soup is getting much darker green now, and the split peas are really breaking up. Now you could decide at which point you feel your soup is done because it is your soup. You see at this point we still have some pieces of split peas. I prefer a silkier, smoother soup, so I'm going to let this keep going a little bit. And we're going to check on it in another 10 or 15 minutes. This smells amazing. I can't wait to try it. We're at about an hour of total cooking time now, and this soup is done. Take a look at how smooth and creamy that has become. Once again, you could decide to let this go a little bit longer, but honestly, I just kind of can't wait anymore. I got to taste this thing. Let's bring it to the table and give it a taste. Okay, so here we are at the dining room table with our delicious split pea soup. Serena, you look very serious today. Anyway, would you like to taste it? You want to smell?
So if you're wondering why Josh isn't here, it's because he's not really in the talking mood for the video, but...
He's going to be in the eating mood, probably.
Yeah, he's going to be in the eating part.
The kids were not here while I was making this soup, so I'm going to do a little contest with them to see if they can figure out all the ingredients inside. But first things first, let's just serve it up. Serena first.
Should I be getting Josh?
You want to get Josh? All right, go get him.
Hey, Josh!
Easy.
Yay! This is my brother! This is my sister! We love each other!
I'm going to start with a small amount. Joshie, as I was saying to Serena, we're going to have a little contest to see who could guess the ingredients.
So good.
There's some salt and pepper here. I've been fasting all day, so it's very, very smart after a fast to drink alcohol on an empty stomach. Actually, it's really not smart, so I suggest that you don't do this. But I also suggest that you don't only do things that are smart. Are you guys ready to make a bracha?
Yeah.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
kol
nihiyeh
bidbaro.
Wow!
Thank you, Joshie.
Everyone, for the grape juice, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Pray, pray. Hagafen. Amen. Yeah, because grape juice is a different bracha. This is cooking kosher, and we're trying to teach you something about
cooking kosher. Now can we play the guessing game?
You guys ready for the contest? Here's how the game goes. Once you run out of ingredients, the other person wins. You ready? First ingredient goes to Serena.
Peas.
Peas is correct. Split peas. Next ingredient goes to Josh.
What is carrots?
In the form of a Jeopardy question, you are right. Serena.
What is potatoes?
Potatoes. Third ingredient, Serena, you are right.
What is onions?
You are right. Fourth ingredient is onions.
What is water?
Water is a big ingredient. That's the fifth ingredient.
Because I
All right.
go to school.
Now we're getting down to smaller ingredients.
Hey kids,
What else is in
it's
there?
fun.
What is celery?
There is no celery in this soup.
Way-oh, jump bottom. Before you press the S button, the S button, please remember to smack that like button. Bye-bye. Ciao. Hola. Shalom.
This soup came out really good. Try to make it at home. Thanks so much for subscribing. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, we definitely will.